Hey guys, I hope you all had a fantastic Thanksgiving. I'm not putting out an animated video this weekend just because of Thanksgiving break, plus I have a flight out to Thailand tomorrow morning, but I've had a lot of people ask me about my past and who am I, what's my story, so I figured I could maybe talk about that a little bit in this video and kind of let you know why I do Holy Kool-Aid. So I was born in Los Angeles, California, and moved to a Muslim country when I was about 3 years old, former Soviet country, right around the collapse of the Soviet Union, and was raised by missionary parents, came back to the States, went to a private university for a year before transferring to Texas A&M, still a very conservative school. I did all the Christian stuff. I was a youth pastor for a summer, I did missions work for one semester, I was a church camp counselor for 2 summers, memorized massive sections of the Bible, read it cover to cover, I did all the stuff. I was even in a Christian fraternity. And then I started asking questions because one of my friends had always told me that truth withstands scrutiny. And if you scrutinize something and it falls apart, it's not worth believing in it. But if you scrutinize it and it's true, it's going to be true no matter how much you scrutinize it. So scrutinize away, right? As I fell in love with science and I started to learn about abiogenesis and about evolution and natural selection and, the link between the geosphere and the biosphere and how they've, evolved together, and about the, 5 different mass extinction events that have happened and, the history of our Earth, and about how stars are formed and how they fuse simple elements into more and more complex elements and then, explode and blast that out into the cosmos, which forms planets, which form us, and, seeing how it's all connected. It started to make sense. I started to realize that it makes a lot more sense than to further complicate the equation by adding, just one ultra complex, God being to the top, because that begs the question of where does that God being come from? So as I started to look into it more, I started to have more and more doubts. I started to realize that there was actually a lot to this. And the young earth creationism that I'd been taught wasn't holding up to scrutiny. And I was realizing that despite what I had learned while being homeschooled, there wasn't this grand conspiracy of scientists who are, deceived by the devil, who are lying and, across multiple disciplines, all colluding to try to promote evolution so that they can continue living a life of sin because they hate God. Instead, what I found was that scientists are some of the most intellectually honest people that I had ever met, and that a scientist will be the first one to say, you know what, I don't really know about this particular issue. Someone probably, knows more than I do, but here's what I found. Here's the data, and I want to follow the data wherever it leads and try to arrive at the right conclusion. And that when they would have an experiment, that it would have to be replicatable, that they would have to take that experiment and, some scientists somewhere else would, test it and see, if they can replicate the results. I started to learn about how peer review works and about how, you can't just blast something out and say this is true. Science is not based around dogma. Science does not tell you not to doubt or not to ask questions. It's the opposite of religion. It says, don't take anything on faith. Don't believe me. Test it for yourself. Go out there and try it for yourself and see if it works. And I started to really develop an appreciation for the scientific method. And so I figured, hey, if there are thousands of religions, they all claim to have, some type of divine revelation, they all claim that, that they can talk to God. They all seem to be having the same type of revelations and the same type of, holy experiences. They can't all be right, but they all claim that they're the only one. But they can't all be wrong. So when I started learning about the mind and about how cognitive biases work and self-delusion works, I started realizing that there are much more logical explanations for this stuff. As I started to explore and ask these questions and saw my, beliefs about God starting to kind of crumble, I also started to see a lot of harm that was done by religion. I started to become aware of not just suicide bombings, not just the World Trade Center, but things like in the Muslim world, women getting acid thrown in their face because they refused to marry some uncle who they're forced into marriage with. The Pope speaking out against condom use in AIDS-ridden parts of Africa. Bush blocking stem cell research when the research could have led to incredible scientific breakthroughs. I started realizing how science and, religious dogmatic thinking were conflicting. People were denying climate change because they didn't have even a rudimentary understanding of science. But instead they would say, oh, well, Jesus is coming back soon and we don't have to really worry about any of that stuff because the world's about to end anyways and he would never let this happen. So, let's just keep the price of the fuel tank down. And it was so short-sighted and so harmful and destructive. And this goes for all different kinds of pseudoscience, whether it's anti-vaxxers or whether it's people who deny evolution or people who promote homeopathy and, alternative medicine. There's just so much damage that's done by this because people they're not skeptical enough to take these claims and actually look at them within the scientific method to be able to examine it and test it and look at the evidence and perform clinical trials or, observational studies and to see if it holds up or not. Humanism is a much more moral framework. You'll never see someone blow up a building or strap a bomb to their chest and blow themselves up in a crowd in the name of humanism. You'll never see someone throw acid in the face of a child in the name of humanism. You will see people promote human rights, equality, fairness, and scientific advancement in the name of humanism. And that's what I want to promote. That's what I want to see take off. I want to see people fall in love with science. I want to see people take humanity to a higher level. I believe in the human race and what we can accomplish, and I want to see that happen. But I don't think that we're going to get there by bickering and fighting over religious dogma and claiming that our religion is right when there's absolutely zero evidence for it, and all the evidence points against it. So yeah, I want to promote scientific literacy. And I think that the more scientifically educated that we become, the less dogma we're likely to swallow, the less gullible that we'll be. And I can prevent some of the harm that would otherwise be caused by religion. Because religion tears families apart. It does a lot of damage. I don't want to see that happen. Don't drink the Kool-Aid, guys.